This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So we discuss about accessing the methods. So what are the approaches we have team to access methods, right? So first one is directly. Directly we can access a method. So first one, take an example, static method, right? So directly you can call one method, one static method into another static method without creating any object. So as of now, so my main method is also a static method, right? I can call into this method because this is a static, this is also a static, no issues, right? And so non-static method. So even you can call the non-static methods team. Try this one, executing. Try this one, and let me know if you have any questions. Executing non-static methods or variables directly. And remember team, so here I'm saying it's accessing a methods, right? So even you can apply for variables also. And sometimes I may use the word called members. Members, nothing but it's a combination of, I can say member, nothing but method and variables. Commonly, so people are calling members. If I say my class members, what does it mean, team? If I say my class members, what does it mean? It's a combination of variables and methods. Class members, right? Now, so try to execute a non-static methods and non-static variables directly. And so next one, executing using object, right? So if you have your own methods, even user can define his own methods, but how to execute him? We have to take the help of main method. By creating object, you can execute your method with object reference. So again, we have a syntax for object. And remember team, entire Java, you can able to create object for class only. For that, what is the syntax? Class name, object name equals to new class name. New is again a Java reserved keyword. Here, new nothing but if the new this line, seventh line will execute, what will happen? There will be a memory allocation for your class. New memory. Every time, new memory allocation for your class. And so remember, so this object name you can give anything. Again, that should be meaningful. And here, whatever we discussed, variables, nomenclature, the same thing applicable for your objects. Start with the lowercase, any subsequent word uppercase. Variables, methods, and objects, or sometimes we can say reference. Object or reference. Reference is same thing. Object or reference. Right? So you should not give a spaces. You should not give a special characters. Even if you want, you can give a numbers. Right? Now, how to create object for a class? Using the syntax class name object name equals to new keyword equal to new class name parenthesis semicolon, right? Now for a class you can create, what will happen team? Creating memory nothing but what will happen by the time of execution, there will be a memory allocation for your class. Using that memory you can able to execute that particular class methods and variables. And for a class, if you want, you can create object n number of times. You can create object any number of times. And don't think so we have to create object for a class single time. If you want, you can create object one more time. Observe it. See here, same syntax. Let me copy one more time inside my main method. Observe, I'm creating one more time. Why I'm getting error, team?
Duplicate. Maybe we should change that name.
What name?
Object name.
Object
This one?
name.
Exactly.
Difference.
So always remember, you should not maintain duplicate variables, duplicate methods, duplicate object names. Here I'm creating object first time. Here I'm creating object second time. And second time, if you are able to create object, you can able to access this class, methods, and variables. Observe here, obj dot addition method, obj2 dot. So here observe what are the variables we have, course, right? Observe obj2 dot course. Why I'm getting error? Line number 13. Line number 13.
Brackets.
That is variable name. I think we can't directly
Exactly.
declare variable.
Whenever you try to access a variable always come with some value. That value should be assigned to one more value, or you have to use direct in system.println. Here, this is a value, right? System cannot understand. For that, you have to assign into one more variable based on the data type. What is the course data type? String here. Let's say calling course equals to object. Got it, team? Here I'm calling what? Using this, first of all, I'm creating object second time for this class. If I am able to create object of this class, I can able to execute this test demo class methods and variables. Here I'm calling nothing but executing this class method, and again here I am calling this variable. Whenever you call a variable, always a variable come up with some value. So you have to store it into some more another variable based on the data type. What is my course data type? Observe, control click. This is a course. This is a course. Global, is that static or non-static? Is that static or non-static?
Static.
Non-static.
Static. It's a non-static variable, right? Now here I'm calling here, right? So what is the data type? Based on the data type, you have to assign it into one more variable, or else you can so directly print it based on your requirement. Clear, team? Now let me close this all stuff. Let me create one more package here. Package day 5. What is the nomenclature you have to follow, team? Reverse to domain name. But here I am using a day 5, right? Now, so here let me take a class called in. Inside my A class, I want to create one method, team. How to create, team? My own method, not a main method.
Public.
Public,
Public.
very good. Access specifier.
If it is static, we should take static.
So if you want, you can check it out static, but it's optional.
Yeah, void.
Very good.
Or method name can be anything.
Method name, we can give anything. As of now, I'm giving a test A parenthesis, and parameter also optional, team, right?
Yeah.
Now, method starting point, method ending point. As of now, I'm not taking anything, just a dummy code, system.println, and this is a test a method in a class. Now tell me team, I want to execute this method. How to execute? What are the approaches we have?
First, we create a main method.
Very good. Can I take in 8th line or I have to take up in 4th line only? Can I take here the main method or I have to take here only 4th line? Where I have to take main method?
Fourth line. In
Can I take here 10th
No,
line?
anyway.
no,
No.
10th line.
Inside
8th line
class.
also is no issues.
Anywhere in the class you can take a main method. There is no mandatory. Execution start from a main method. Wherever you maintain a main method, that's not a problem. Always execution start from a main method. JVM always recognize for a main method. The main door for your class is a main method. JVM enter to your class through main method. Simply say main door. Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to execute this test A method?
By calling method test A.
Can I call directly? Come on, team. Yes or no? Directly?
Yes.
It is
Okay.
static.
How to call directly? Test A. Observe here. Test A method. You can call it because this is a static. This is also static. As of now, I can able to execute. Calling a static method directly. This is the A class test. As of now, are we creating any memory?
No.
No, right? Now observe here. Don't confuse. I'm going one more step ahead. Just try to don't confuse here. Observe. I'm removing the static keyword. This is a non-static method. So if you try to call a non-static method into a static, this is not possible. This will give you error. Why this is not possible? We'll discuss later. Then how to call this method? So anyway, I want to execute this team. I want to execute. One is static way. So if it is static, you can directly call it. I don't want to make it static. Now tell me how to execute.
By creating object.
Very good. So if you create object, you can able to execute. How to create object for this class team?
Class name and
Class
object.
name, object
Object.
name, you can take anything.
And new operator
New
in class name.
class
Name
name,
of.
class
Yeah.
name of semicolon. Good. Right? I am getting error. Okay. First you have to create object, then you have to call that method. Still I am getting error.
We can call it object reference. A dot
Object
test
reference. Very good. Object reference dot method. This is how you have to call it. Right? Now observe. This is how you have to call a non-static method into a static with object reference. Right? Even if you want, you can call this directly. So this is I am calling directly. But inside the static method, this is not possibility because this is a non-static method. This is a static method. So if you have one more non-static method, public void, I'm not taking static. This is a non-static method. Test B. Inside a test B, observe. Line number 17, I'm not getting error. Line number 13, I'm getting error. Because line number 13, I'm calling a non-static method inside a static method. Line number 17, I'm calling a non-static method inside a non-static method. If you are calling a method inside a static, that should be static. If you are calling a non-static method inside a non-static, there is not be any problem. But the key point here you have to remove. Any confusion, team? No confusion, right? Able to follow? Just static,
Yeah.
static, non-static, non-static.
Yeah.
But here the problem comes here. Now let me remove this. Let me comment it. If I execute this program, what will happen to you? What is the output? For better understanding purpose, so let me give system.println also inside my B test. This is a test B method in a class. Okay. This is okay. Now tell me, if I execute this program, what is the output?
Both will be executed.
No, test A only. Test A it's calling only test A, right?
Observe the output. Options are, so whatever it may be, it may execute either A or a B or both. Only 3 options, right? Now observe the output, team. It is executing. This is a test A method in a class. This is executed from which line? Line number?
By 10 object.
Line number
6.
First of all, observe the flow. If I say run a Java application, JVM always start from the execution where? In which line?
Main.
Main. So it is coming to the 8th line. So after that, the next line, creating object. After that, calling a class test A method. This will happen. And so this is directly going to 11th to 5th line. Now it will execute this one. Now execution completion. Am I calling my test B method anywhere?
No.
I am calling the test A method directly, which is a non-static into a non-static, but I cannot execute this test B method.
Yeah.
If you want to execute, there are 2 options here. So this should be inside your main method, like this. Observe. I am trying to call again this test B directly. Why I am getting error?
Object reference A dot test B.
First of all, this is a non-static. This is a static. Either you have to convert this is a static, or else you have to call with object reference.
Yes.
Now this time here A method will execute, B method will execute. Inside a B method, I am calling A method second time. Got it?
Yeah.
Only
Yeah.
2 points. Here I am trying to say here is the only two key points. You can able to execute static methods directly, non-static methods directly. But if you want to execute static method, that is possible only inside static. If you want to execute non-static, that is possible only inside non-static. Clear?
Yeah.
Let me remove this entire stuff. Now here, let me have one method, public void test A. System.out.println A class test A method. So if I want to execute this method, how to execute thing? What are the approach? What are the approaches we have?
First we write a main method.
Very good. The first point. So you cannot execute your program without a main method. Okay.
It is non-static. That's why we are creating object first.
Directly we cannot call it. So if you want to execute, obviously you have to create object for this class by following syntax, class name, object name is new class name. After that, using that object reference, you have to call it. Nothing great. Run as Java. It will execute a class test method. Now let me have one more class team. My class name B. Here, let me have one more method, public void test B method. So for understanding purpose, let me have a B class test B method. Now tell me team how to execute this method. How to execute this method? I want to execute test B method.
Yeah,
Why are you
same.
taking this much name? Just now,
Yeah, we
just now
write a
we have
main
seen,
method.
just now we have seen here, right? Same apply.
Yeah.
There is nothing new here. Just I am going little bit very slow. Okay, let's say the main method, right? Then the create object. This because it is a non-static, right? Class name, object name is equal to new class name, and then object dot test B method. That's it. Nothing great, nothing new here. Run as Java application. This is a B class test B method. That's it. Right? And inside a project, you can create n number of packages, your requirement. And inside a package, if you want, you can create n number of classes based on your requirement. And here, let me ask one more question here. This is a B class. In this B class, I want to execute A class test A method. Nothing great thing. Apply the same logic here. If you want, you can create object of one class in another class. So what is another class?
Test
A
A.
class. Class name, object name equals to new class name, parentheses, A dot, observe here, test A. What I'm trying to say here, so if you want, you can create object of a class inside a class, or else if you want, you can create object of one class in another class. Execution same here. See here, again, if I say run as Java application, first of all, so JVM try to start the execution from main method. So here what I'm saying, create object for a B class, this class, execute this class test B method. So it will execute this string, it will complete. After that, line number 17, create object of A class and then execute A class test B method. This is not a new thing, right? Let me comment it. Right? Object creation of this class, executing of this class method. I'm commenting this one. Run as Java application. We are creating A class object in B class. A class test method. So if you want, you can check it team. So just control click here, and this will navigate to that class. Observe A class test method. This is a B class. Clear team?
Yeah.
Excuse me, you're not audible.
And now? One second.
Yeah.
Check that location. Check my report. Sorry, team. Is it okay, team? Can you please check now?
Yeah, it's clear enough.
Yeah, thanks. Right? All right. So let's say, so this is a JVM memory, team. If you create object for your class, what will happen, team? It will create memory inside a JVM for your class. In this example, so we are creating object of, so how many classes we have? We have a class A, right? We have a class B. Inside a B class, what I'm saying here, so here I'm creating object of A class. Let's say in anywhere, so object creation nothing but memory allocation. Here we are taking the syntax what, team? A equals to new of A, right? So nothing but memory will be created with the reference of what? With the reference of object A. Whenever you create object of this class, so here inside this memory there will be a your methods and variables. So you can call this methods and variables using this reference. Let's say here, so as of now in my A class, what we have a method called testa method. So you can execute this testa method using a reference of what? A dot testa method. Either in A class or in any other class, the concept is same. So far clear, right?
Yeah.
So far clear, right? Now, the third one here is executing in a static way. Observe carefully, team. So in my A class, let's say here I am creating object. Here I am creating testa method. Through object of this A class, I am able to execute this testa method. Clear? Now, object creation nothing but what stream here? Memory allocation. Nothing but inside my JVM, I am creating a memory of this class. Now, I don't want to create a memory. Is there any way to execute this class, A class testa method? Already you know.
Static.
Exactly. So here, this is a one-way team. Using object reference, right? This is already we know. Let me comment it. It's the one way, and I want to execute in a second way, right? So second way what? Directly. How to call this method? Directly. Is it possible to call this testa method directly?
No, in testa method we can put static, public
Observe.
static void.
If it is static, you can call it. Now observe
Yeah.
the error. Change A to static. Now let's change A method to static. Now error gone. You can able to execute. Right? Now the only condition here is you can able to execute or you can able to call a methods, whether it may be static or non-static directly. Observe within a class team. The same I am trying to do in a B class because B is another class, right? So here I'm creating object. So here I'm calling through object reference, but here I'm trying to call directly. Here, can you guess what could be the error in the 16th line?
Yeah, change to static.
It is also a static map
Oh,
because you cannot able to execute directly one class methods or one class variables inside another class. So if you want to execute directly, that could be possible only inside that particular class, not possible in other class. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, the only one condition, if you want, you can execute directly, no issues. But that could be possible only inside that particular class, and that could be possible if it is static into a static, if it is non-static into a non-static, as of now. Okay.
okay.
Now, so we have a one more approach team. This is a second way, executing. So using object reference and directly, and we have a one more best approach, static way. You can execute one class methods and variables using class name reference without creating object, and other than directly you can execute one class methods or a variable with class name reference. What is the class name here? A dot test. And this is the best way. We are not creating object, still we can able to execute. Observe, let me comment on this one. A class test method. Now this thing you can do in another class also. Observe, this is test method. I'm directly calling in a B class, right? This is not possible. A class test method calling with class name reference inside another class. I'm calling A class test method inside a B class. Observe here. Now let me comment on this one. Are we allocating memory? Are we creating memory team here?
No.
Inside a B class, I'm not creating a memory of A class. Simply, I'm calling A class testa method without creating object and not directly, because you cannot call a method inside another class directly. So if you want to call directly, that could be possible only inside a class. You can call a method or a variable without creating object in a static way. But the condition here is static way is always possible for static methods or static variables. That cannot be possible with non-static method, non-static variable. The concept here is static way. Observe. So here, what the method I'm calling here, testa method. And observe team, this is also applicable for variable also. Okay. Now let me remove the static keyword. I'm getting error. go to the error, change test A to static, and observe in a B class also. Change test A to static. So if you click here, that will change in a over in my A class. Why this is? Now I'll clarify you. Okay. Now observing. Let's consider this is a JVM memory, right? So by the time of class execution, pay attention team. Let's consider this is a JVM memory. So let's say you have one class, your class name is A. Inside class A, let's consider there are some methods and variables. By the time of class loading, always there will be a memory allocation for your class. Remember, there will be a memory allocation for your class. Are we allocating memory? Still, we are not allocating memory. This is step 1, or you can consider phase 1. Memory allocation for your class. Let's consider for a class. So whenever you class loading, by the time of class loading, so you can consider loading to the JVM. By the time this memory will be allocated, this memory we are saying as static memory. Inside static memory, so there will be a static variables and static methods, and so we get to know as of now static blocks. Keep aside static blocks. So this is the first step. Now whenever you say in anywhere, so if you say class name object name is equal to new class name, it will create a memory for your class. Inside this memory there will be a non-static variables and non-static methods. So this is, you can consider this is step 2. Step 1, when the step 1 is happening team, by the time of class loading. So there is no dependency of your object creation, creating line. That means class name object name is new class name. When the step 2 will happen, whenever you create object for a class, step 2 will happen. Always create this one. You can say this is a non-static memory. That's why without the memory, you can able to execute static method, static variables. Using what? Using class name reference. You can use here the class name reference. Let's say there is a variable called, for example, let's say there is a variable called static A. Let's say static int A equals to 100. One thing you can directly execute inside a class, and second thing you can call the static A variable using class name reference. And one more thing, if there is a method, static method, let's say my method name is, I'm giving me, you can able to execute like this, a.me method. This is a static. There is no dependency of step 2 team. always your static method, your static variables will execute by the time of class loading. That's why here you cannot execute this non-static methods into a static, because this execution is phase 1. Non-static execution is phase 2. This will be executing in a phase 1. This will be execution in phase 2. So this is not, see, this much is not required in a core Java, but try to follow. Why we are not able to call the non-static method into a static? Why you can able to execute a non-static methods without object? This is the main reason. Static variables, static methods will be ready to execute before creation of your object or by the time of loading of your class. And this non-static variables, non-static methods will be ready whenever you create object. It's always the execution of this non-static variables, non-static methods depends on object creation. Without this object creation, you cannot able to execute this non-static variables and non-static method. When you can able to execute these things, whenever you execute this thing. Clear, team?
Yeah. Clear.
Yes.
Ashwini, Bhavya,
Yeah. I got it.
Naresh.
Yeah, we are good.
Yeah, thanks. So again, there is a memory portions inside a JVM like stack, heap, method area. So that much is not required. Just try to understand this basic concept.
Okay.
Step 1, static members execution. Step 2, non-static members execution. Right now, from tomorrow onwards, whenever you practice static or non-static, just imagine these things. Okay, if I am executing this one, let's say if you are executing this class, first of all, if I say run a Java application, so my JVM will load this class. Let's say this is a class, and by the time of execution, so first of all, it will load all static variables and static methods. Right now, and second thing, so it will search for a main method. On the static, what is the priority? Main method. First, always looking for a main method. Now, yes, main method project. Now, execute from main method line by line. Inside a main method, is there any statement to create object? Yes, create object for this class. Using this object, if you are not able to execute using that object reference, if you are calling any methods or variables, okay, execute from this block, non-static methods, non-static variables. Let's say here, let me give an example. Here, let's say there is a variable called int b equals to 200. How can you execute this team? So you have to say, already you have created object a dot b. Here you will get an error. You have to assign into one more variable. Let's say int c. You are calling a b variable, so directly you cannot call like this. So this is a value. You have to store it into one more variable. For understanding, so simply I'm giving a dot b. Let's say one more method. Here we have a method, non-static method. So public void non-static method. Let's say ns method. So how to call this method, team? How to call this ns method?
A dot
ns
NSM.
method. This is how you have to call non-static method. So if you are 100 classes, by the time of class loading, so 100 classes will be create a static block, static memory. And one more key point here, team. So this step 1 is a one-time activity. Step 1 is one-time activity. So here, the step 2, nothing but what you are doing here, you are creating object for a class. So if you want, you can create object for a class n number of times. Let's say this is second time, third time. If you want, you can create a number of times. But step 1 is one-time activity. Always there is a static memory for your class, only one static memory. Non-static memory, you can create n number of times. Clear, team?
Yeah.
Please let me know if you have any questions. If you are able to understand this concept, you will get a more clarity on a static, non-static, calling with static way, using object reference, one class to another class, and so allocation memory, object optimization. Okay.
Yeah.
Now come to the question. When we have to go for static members or when we have to go for non-static. Anyway, we have good understanding about this concept, but in a real time, when we have to use this, how you have to use this, right? That's what the main question. Right? So we'll discuss a real-time scenario, then we'll close the session, right? Now let me close this. Let's say, see here. So I have a class called outer list. Observing, pay attention, try to follow. Outer list, right? Now, let's say there is a ID for each and every voter. Let's say voter ID, right? Now, let's say voter name. Right? Now, observing main method and observe I'm writing using a reference of a real-time entity, voter list. So here I want to create object for this voter list, right? So creating voter David equals to new voter list, real-time entity, nothing but object. So class object should resemble with real-time entity. Real-time entity nothing but which is having height, weight, width, physical appearance. This is a real-time entity, right? Now, how to call this voter ID, voter name team? How to call this voter ID, voter name?
David dot voter ID.
And before that, yeah. So before that, if you execute this thing, what will happen? You know, first of all, to search for a main method. Before that, by the time of class loading, ready of static methods, static variables. Here we don't have a static variables. As of now, we have a only main method, and main method will ready and searching for a main method, execution of main method inside whatever we are having. So what we are saying here, just allocating memory for this class. Whenever you say allocate memory for this class, memory allocation for this class with the reference of what? David. Right? So if you want to anything, if you want to execute from this class, anything, whether it be variable or a method, you can execute from here. And now, initialize, you have to know before that here, you have to know. So initialization of variables. You can initialize a variables. So we have a few ways, team. The first one is directly. Directly, you can initialize a variable. So how? Let's say directly int age equals to 25. This is a direct initialization of variable. But we have an example here. Nothing great, right? Already we know it. And second one is you can create through object. You can initialize object already. So already we know this one. So what is the syntax of variable declaration, team? Data type variable name equals to variable value. By the time of creating a variable, data type and variable name is mandatory, but the variable value is optional. Why optional? You will get to know. Observe here. Here, my order ID, my order name is that can be changed with object to object. That's why. So these values are optional. Let's say if I say 1, 2, 3, order name David here. So this order ID, I have to use this 1, 2, 3 for each and every object. I have to use this David name for each and every object. Now, if I take like this, so I can change my order ID, I can change my order name with object to object. Now observe here. Now this is my object, right? David dot ID equals to 1, 2, 3. Here what I am doing here, I am initializing this order ID. Now let's initialize order name. David dot order name. Already order name we have, right? David itself order name. Let's say order okay. Let me make it only one order ID, right? So order ID is 1, 2, 3. David order ID. Now I want to create one more object. Observe here. How to create? Same. So you can create object for a class n number of time. Order list. Now this time John equals to new order ID, order list. Now, so here you can give one more number to your John order. John dot order ID equals to 1, 2, 4. Observe, team. Here I am differentiating object to object. Variable is not changing, variable value is changing. Any questions, team? Let's say one more object. This time, so order ID is 1, 2, 1. This is how the real-time entity, the real-time program you have to write. As of now, order ID, is that a non-static or static?
Non-static.
So if I say non-static, so whenever you create an object, there will be a allocation of
Memory.
memory, right? So here you are allocating memory, here also you are allocating memory, here also you are allocating memory, and initializing variable 1 to 3. Here we are allocating memory or not? 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Again, here also you are allocating memory. Allocating memory how many times? For variable I'm asking. Let me remove this one. So anyway, object nothing but memory here itself. Object nothing but memory only. Allocating memory for a variable. Allocating memory for a variable.
Yeah, 3 times.
Right? Now, let me have a city here. So how to take a city team? What the data we have to take? String. Very good. String. City is, let's say, in double quotes, say Hyderabad. So here, can I update here? Can I update here, team? So it has to change object to object. If it has to change object to object, just first of all, let's say you have to take like this. Now, each time, observe here, David dot city equals to Hyderabad. Again, John dot city equals to Hyderabad. Next example, Murali dot city equals to Hyderabad. And here for city also I am allocating memory. Yes or no? Allocating memory, allocating memory, allocating memory. So here city is a common point, isn't it?
Yeah.
And common property nothing but it's a common variable for as of now. Common variable for each and every object. For David, it's in Hyderabad, city is Hyderabad. For John, city is Hyderabad. For Murli, city is Hyderabad. So if you have this type of use case, see, so each and every time here also for this variable also we are allocating memory. This Hyderabad, where it is happening, team? Hyderabad, phase 1 or phase 2? Every time it is creating Hyderabad here. Let's say object 1, it is creating object creating here. So let's say John object. Next Murali, third object. HOD, HOD, HOD. Every time it is creating object allocating somewhat memory, whether it may be high or low. Anyway, it is consuming some memory. So we can avoid this thing, team. So we can avoid this thing. So this thing you can take it here
Static.
and make it as a static. If it is a make it as static, this is a one-time activity. As I said earlier, this is a one-time activity. Now you can remove this one, you can remove this one, you can remove this one. Let's say there are a 1 lakh of voter list in a Hyderabad. For each and every voter, I am taking a single variable, only single variable. Anyway, this is has to change object to object. This has to change object to object. This has to change object to object. But it is not changing object to object. Whenever you have a requirement, the property or a value changing from an object to object, go for a non-static. If the value is not changing or object to object, go for a non-static. Sorry, static. If it is not changing, static meaning here is meaning team. Just if you convey as it is, static nothing but non-changing. The meaning of static is non-changing. Here, when you have to go for a static which is a non-changing, go for a static. When you have to go for a non-static which is a changing. Here my voter ID is changing object to object. My city is not changing object to object. And static is a one-time activity. This is a non-static is this is object to object, it is varying. This is applicable for method also. If you have a use case, so the function is changing object to object, go for a non-static. If it is not changing object to object, go for a static. Clear, team? Please let me know if you have any questions. Or if you want to repeat it one more time, no problem. I'm very happy to repeat one more time.
It's clear.
Naresh,
I'm clear on it.
so just simple. So if the value or a function is not changing, go for a static. If it is keep on changing object to object, go for a non-static. But whenever you create object, you are allocating memory. If you are allocating memory, so every time new instance, new. If you are executing new one time, it will create a new memory one time. If you are executing one more time, it is creating a new memory. But the first phase, a static block, is only for a one class. Clear, team? So, hope I have given a good example. Just take your example, team. So try to execute, take your class, try to execute your own static variables, your own static methods. Okay?
Okay.
No questions, right? From session 1 onwards, any sessions, any questions in any session?
Yeah, I have one doubt actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I write a is a float range is 10.5 to 12.5, right?
Float range is float. No.
Float.
There is no much that much range. So max it can give you up to, I believe, 5 to 6.
5 to 6. Actually, I gave float age equal 1.5, but
One
skip
second.
typecasting.
One second.
Okay.
See again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe it should give up to 6 or 7, I think. Yeah. See, observe here. He has rounded the value. It is not given a 6, it is given a 7.
Okay.
Okay.
After decimal, it is 7 or including numbers also?
Sorry, ma'am. After?
6 numbers or after decimal? After point, 6 number or including the 2 numbers also?
See, after certain point, it will ignore. See, if you want, you can give any numbers. If you want, if you give any numbers, but it will ignore. It will consider the range. It will consider only 6, max 6 to 7 letters, 5 to 6. If you want, you can give any number, but it will ignore. Even double also. We observe. We remove this. Observe. At certain point, remaining values it can ignore.
Yeah.
Okay, team.
Yeah.
Still any questions?
No.
Thank you, team. We'll connect tomorrow same time. 8:30 p.m. East. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.